Hello guys, and thank you for tuning in because the last video was over a year ago, a year and a month actually, and I've managed to keep 580 subscribers, which is, you know, and I know that they go up and down, so I know it's not just a case of you've forgotten to take the subscriptions off. People do actually want to know if there's any more information, and you can see by the thumbnail that obviously there is some more information. So this isn't going to be a long video.
You sit on a throne of lies.
There's no walking around the barn, obviously. There's no checking out cars. This is just a quick video to explain what's happened. And then in the next few videos, there's a few bits and pieces I'll go over, like what happened in more detail, some profit and loss figures, tell you exactly why things went the way they did. But ultimately, the aim of this video is to explain what happened in the last year and why it shut down. So I've watched the last few videos that I put out a year ago. Some of the cars and those I can't even, well, I say I can't remember, I just about remember them, but God, it seems so long ago now. And after those videos that I put out last year, that's exactly what I did. I expanded the business. At one point I think I had about over 40 cars on site and available for sale. Expanded the business massively, had well over, I'm trying to think how much stock I had in at one point value wise, but obviously it was, you know, well over 100,000, probably, you know, nearer 200,000 quid. We were knocking a few out, you know. We weren't, don't get me wrong, we weren't making shit tons of profit because we never did, but it was washing its face for a few months. And the whole way of starting a business, at least in my head anyway, obviously it's bollocks now, but like the first couple of years you would never expect to make a profit, and it's just about growing from scratch. A lot of expenses went into year one to get the thing up and running, like just things like electrics in the barn, getting the barn kitted out to actually be, you know, used as an office, and all the other bits and pieces in there. The marketing, get your name out and everything like that. So year one was like a real drain. Year two, if I'm honest, I hoped it would turn around a little bit quicker in year two, but year two is much of the same, and you're still on the training course in year two. If you plan to do this yourself, trust me, it's a long training course. But year three, I'd like to think that I had pretty much a good grip on things, and by the time I did the last video that you saw, from then on, I think I was pretty much on the ball. And like I said, bought some really nice stock, sold some really nice stock, and, you know, the business was washing its face. You know, and everything was going well till about probably end of August, beginning of September. I know it was around that time because just before we went on the Nürburgring trip with Joe and Sam and Chops and all the other guys, it was the first time where Rachel Reeves had come out and said, oh, you know, we might start charging property tax, or we might start charging, I don't know, taxing something else. And from then until, I mean, obviously the budget was late in November as well, as late as it's ever been. But as soon as she started dropping hints that she was going to start taxing people more, and there's going to be more and more people going to be, like, you know, short of cash, and, you know, it's going to be a nightmare scenario, I can literally picture that date from then until after Christmas. It was as slow as anything. It was, people say about turn the tap off. It was literally like turn the tap off. We had business one week and next week we had nothing, and there was no rhyme or reason for it. Inquiries just dried up overnight. You know, we had the same cars we were selling, we had the same, everything that we were doing was exactly the same as it was. But things just literally stopped for 4 months. When you're carrying that much stock, it was difficult because the stock was coming in. I was prepping it. I wasn't one of those dealers that has the car in, sells it and then preps it, because a lot of the sales I did were literally, I walk through the doors, I like that, I'll take it, and they drive away the same day. You can't do that if cars aren't ready to go. So I was much of the opinion that, you know, the cars should be ready, we'll get them all prepped. And when you've got 40 cars on site and you're prepping 40 cars, and your costs are on average 500 to 600 quid a car, that mounts up pretty quickly. especially when your turnover starts to fall off a cliff. So what basically happened is September, October, November, December, turnover just fell. I had cars sitting in the barn that were ready to go, and they were nice cars as well, like they were good cars, and we just couldn't sell any of them. So over Christmas, I think I got my mind up that it just wasn't sustainable. We couldn't carry on like that. And, you know, even though things started moving just after Christmas, as they always do in January, like end of the year, in January things do pick up, the writing was really on the wall. So when we got into January, I'd already made the decision we were gonna shutter it. And typically we had a really good January. We sold a lot of cars in January, probably our best month ever. But the fact of the matter was, we needed at least another year of Januaries just to get back to where we were from the money that we'd kind of lost over the 4 months previously, because that's the kind of margins you're working on. So we were left with about, 20 odd. So late January, I phoned the funding company up and told them to come and take some of them away, because that's just how it had to happen. They took them away, and that brought us into February. And I was sat at my desk on the 12th of February, about 10:55 in the morning, and literally where I'm sat now, to be fair. And I felt a massive pain right at the back of my head, just here. I was like, "Oh, what the fuck's that?" You know when you twist your neck or you get a nerve trapped? It was exactly like that. It was there, and it went right down the back of my neck here. And I was like, "Oh God." The weird thing was, I hadn't moved my neck or anything, or had moved my head. It just happened. So I thought, that's weird. How have I pulled a muscle or whatever, or twisted a nerve in my neck, and I haven't moved? So I waited for a couple of minutes to see if it'd go, and it didn't go. So as I'm sat in front of the PC, I'll quick look online, see about things, and look into neuralgia and stuff like that. And as I'm moving the mouse like this, I noticed that this part of the fleshy part here of my right hand had started to go a little bit numb, and I was just like, it's a bit weird, but you don't think anything else of it. Anyway, 5 or 10 minutes later, the pain still hadn't gone. It was still here, and I thought, this isn't right. Something's not quite right here, because it wasn't like you could ease the pain by moving your head. It was hurting all the time. Sometimes with a twisted nerve, you can kind of get into a position where it doesn't hurt. So we're in a 2-story house now, and I'm on the top floor, and my partner Jo, she's on the lower floor. So there's a floor in between us, basically. So I went to go down the stairs, and it was a bit like being pissed, but not pissed. So I started to go downstairs. I went down 2 steps, and I realised all my balance was gone. I was like, this isn't right. Something's not quite right here. So I thought, right, okay, I don't want to go flying down the stairs. So I took 2 back up the steps, went to lay on the bed in the top floor bedroom, and I had my phone with me. So I texted Jo and said, look, something's not quite right here. Can you come up? Like you do nowadays, you don't call down, do you? But I literally just couldn't call down, and just text her and said, can you come up? So she came up and said, like, what's up? Explained to her what had gone on. So she was looking on the internet and thought, we'll phone 111. So we did that, and they said, like, we'll phone you back within 3 to 4 hours. And Jo was like, right, okay, well, I'll phone the GP and see what's going on. So I phoned the GP to explain the situation and what had happened. And they said, look, call for an ambulance, because the symptoms say you should call for an ambulance. I'm like, I'm not going for an ambulance, that's ridiculous. Just trapped the nerve. So Joe's like, no, you really should get an ambulance. I'm really not getting an ambulance. She said, look, well, okay, because we're in Daventry. The nearest hospital to us is Northampton. It's about half an hour drive away. So I said, look, okay, let me have a bath. Because I'm not going to, because literally I got out of bed and then started working in the morning. I was still like, I hadn't sort of washed or anything. So let me have a bath and a shower and stuff or whatever. So I'm nice and clean, then I'll go into hospital. So I got into the bath. and I remember getting into the bath, and I'm sat in the bath and I'm thinking to myself, this is really weird. I looked at the tap. We've got like a central tap at the end of the bath. So I'm sitting in the bath, or lying in the bath. And I'm thinking, well, how can the left side of the bath be hot? Left side? Yeah, left side of the bath be hot, and the right side of the bath be cold, because like the water comes out of a mixer tap. So how can it be? And I sat there for must have been a good minute, trying to work this out, thinking, well, I don't understand. You know, it's just not possible how the water can't mix properly. And then I went to get some shower gel or something like that, and I moved my right arm, and we've got a shower screen on the side of the bath. It's like a shower in the bath. I touched my arm against the aluminium strip that's on the side of the shower screen. Honestly, it was like a machete had cut through my arm. It was that sensitive. It was, I can't even describe the pain to you. But it was just, I was like, whoa, that's not right. And then I suddenly realised that I was touched like my right leg and my right side. I couldn't feel anything down my right hand side. So at this point, I'm starting to like shit myself a little bit, and I'm just like, okay, this isn't right, that's not right. So I got out of the bath, dried myself. As I'm drying myself, I can't feel the towel on my right hand side. So I got out of the bath, got dried, I said, threw some clothes on, and said to Joe that this isn't right. Tried to get downstairs, and kept like lurching to the left. Couldn't seem to hold a balance. Completely, brain was absolutely fine, completely corpus mentis, no issues with that. Still had the pain in the back of my head, but my balance was completely gone. So I'm thinking must have like a really bad bout of vertigo or something like that. So we got downstairs, threw some shoes on and stuff and whatever, got in the car. Obviously Joe was driving because I couldn't drive because I wasn't sure what was going on. And as she was driving to Northampton, I'm on my phone, I'm looking up these symptoms and what's wrong. And I think Joe already knew what was going on, because I could see she was more worried than I was. But as I started looking at the symptoms, I realised that I was probably having a stroke. And that's when things got really scary, because that hit me like a wrecking ball. It really did. I'll do another video. The next video I do will be about what happened. But basically, I had a stroke. I went into hospital. I was in hospital for about 4 days. The ward that I was on, I was the healthiest one there, but I wasn't well. 3 other guys were probably end of life, and 2 others were worse than me, but I think possibly recoverable. So I was in there for, say, from the 12th, which was a Thursday. I remember it well. Came out just at the weekend because I couldn't stay. So I'll get into this in another video, because I don't want to go through it with you now. If you don't want to listen to it, you know, it's not everyone's cup of tea medical drama, is it? But anyway, come out of hospital. Still now, I'm not right. There was no way, especially that first couple of weeks, there was no way I was going to run a business. And even today, I can't run a business. So, fortunately, I'd already put things in place to sort of slow the business down, but it was very obvious early on that, you know, it had to fold. So, yeah, that's where we were. So I had to fold the business in February. Appointed people to do all that for me. Used the last bit of money that I had to pay for them to do the insolvency. Because I had personal guarantees against pretty much everything. The next round from the insolvency from the company was my personal bankruptcy, because there was no way, and there is no way currently, that I'll be able to earn that kind of money or the kind of money required to pay back everything that I'd borrowed to make the place work. So the only thing left for me to do was to declare bankruptcy, and that's currently where we are today. I wanted to do this video a long time before today, but it'll be 3 months on Tuesday. I'll try and get this out on the Sunday. I probably won't go out till Monday with editing and stuff, but it'll be 3 months on the Tuesday. Sorry, 3 months on the Thursday. Is that right? 12th, 10th Sunday. Yeah, sorry, 3 months on the Tuesday, but it'll be over 12 weeks. That's right, yeah, sorry. See, my brain doesn't really work anymore either. Half-brain dead. So yeah, that's where we are. So I wanted to do this video a lot sooner, but being honest with you, I just did not have the self-confidence to sit in front of a camera and speak to you guys and tell you what I'm telling you now. There's lots of things that aren't quite right with me since the stroke. I've put on 3 stone in the last 3 months, so I feel like shit. I'm not sorry, a lot of this happens because of the stroke, and a lot of it happens because of my emotions. I lose my train of thought a lot more. My emotional state isn't particularly brilliant, but that's where we are at the moment. But yeah, I've been sitting in front of the TV or doing this, that and the other recently, and thinking I must do a video on YouTube. Because let's face it, I haven't really got much else to do at the moment. I can get about. I'm pretty much disabled, but I can get about. My right side is fucked, for want of a better word. But I'll go into that in the next video. But yeah, I just wanted to say thank you for carrying on subscribing. I thought you deserved an update as to where we are, and that is where we are. So I'll keep the channel going. I've got a few ideas of what I can do, because obviously I need to keep myself busy. It won't be centered around running a car dealership, obviously, because that's not really good for your health. But it'll be fairly motor related and bits and pieces. But obviously the next video is going to be about a stroke and what you go through and what to watch out for. Because even if you don't watch it, it's more for me to remember looking back as to what actually happened, because as time goes on you forget the things you've been through. So I want to make a video as much for myself as much for you guys, so I don't forget what happened. So yeah, like I said, the channel will continue. We'll do a video about the stroke, a few videos about obviously the cars that came in. But yeah, I'm sorry about all the cuts in the video. Like I said, from a lack of mobility, a lack of fitness, effects of the stroke and whatever, I find it very difficult to catch my breath now. My throat was affected in the stroke, which makes it harder to talk for long periods of time. Look, thanks for watching, guys. I really appreciate you being there. I'm going to get emotional now, so bear with me. But I know some creators will see subscribers as like a number, and they do content for numbers and for views and for minutes and for watch hours and all that sort of stuff. But to me, I kind of liken it to if you're a stand-up comedian and you go to a venue, and 600 people turn up to the venue, they watch your show, they laugh, and then you go to, I don't know, Ramsgate, and you do another show, 600 more people turn up, they laugh and whatever. Then you go to, I don't know, Darlington, 600 more people turn up and laugh at your jokes. I still find it amazing that like nearly 600 of you want to know what I have to say. And for that stand-up comedian going to those shows, I have to imagine it like it's the same people turning up to those shows. And although I don't know you personally as a subscriber, please understand that I know you are a subscriber and why you subscribe, because when I subscribe to a channel, it's the same thing. I feel a connection with that creator and I want to know more of what they're doing because it's of interest to me. And the fact, like I said, that nearly 600 of you want to know what happened, that's why I feel it's on me to tell you exactly why there hasn't been any videos on what happened. But I want to thank you all for sticking around and waiting, and I hope you'll stick around for everything else that I'm going to do over the next however long it is. It's funny, I've started thinking about death a lot more now than I never did. I honestly thought I was indestructible. And now I think about death a lot more. It's a morbid note to end on, isn't it? But it is the truth. Anyway, thanks again, and I'll see you in a week's time. Cheers, guys.